my actual July budget for this month. This is all my planned expenses. Believe me, this isn't a pretty for YouTube kind of video. This is my true actual numbers. And you can see on there that I will even be in a negative. So I'm going to share with you how I'm going to adjust for that. If you're new here, I'm Karen. Thank you for being here and following along on my journey to repay debt and build income. If you owe someone money, they control your life until every single cent of it is paid back, and I'm taking back control of my life. So I'm going to be turning to my screen. You can see this is my spreadsheet that I use. I have used a lot of spreadsheets. I've bought a lot. I've created my own. I've tested them out since probably, I don't know, when did I start budgeting? Maybe 2017 was when I really got into budgeting. And each of them were good in parts of the areas, but each of them also had things that I didn't quite like, or it didn't have what I needed. I just went and created my own. And so this spreadsheet is the result of all of that spreadsheet building. This has what I want on it. So we're going to go over that. This is my monthly budget. So you can see that every single month and these will expand. Every single month I have a plan, actual, and plus or minus. So for July, I've got the month open so you can see the plan, the actual, and the plus and minus. So you can see for the opening balance, this is supposed to be my checking account balance from the end of June. And it was what my balance was at the end of June. Total income will be what is currently come into my bank account. So you can see that 3947.99 is the same as this one here, the 3947.99. So that is my actual. 4677.14 is what has actually gone out. And you'll be able to see that this one is actually a total of some different categories, and I'll show you those. The net would be what is currently left over. Technically, this at the end of the month, this should be the amount that goes into my opening balance for the next month, but it never seems to work that way, and I haven't quite figured that out yet, but I will. So you can see here, my first category is income. So it is a 3-pay month for my 9 to 5. I usually under budget a bit just to give myself some wiggle room. So I usually use $22.50 as my net take home for my biweekly paycheck. So this month has the 3 and I've received 1. The next pay will be July 15th. You can see here my child tax credit, disability tax credit. I do live in Canada, so as a single parent, I do receive this. Child support, this is the federal guidelines required to be paid for my child by her father. This doesn't include Section 7 expenses, which would be other costs that she has, and I'll discuss that a little bit further. Refunds is what I expect to receive from my health insurance. So every single month, the majority of our prescriptions are just done at the pharmacy level and they're paid for there. There are a couple expenses that are my daughter's because she has type 1 diabetes. So there are a couple extra expenses that aren't direct billed at the pharmacy, so I have to pay for them upfront and then receive the 80% refund. So that's the total of those every month, and it's pretty much the same every month. Miscellaneous one-time income. This month I have a conference to go to towards the end of July, and this is the per diem amount that is supposed to cover the week. So that's going to be unexpected income. But as you can see in my budget, there will be other areas that are affected by going away, and I'll show you that. Business income, I currently don't have any, and I don't have any planned. Union honorarium is 0. my 9 to 5, I belong to the union executive, and I'm a shop steward there. And every quarter, because we're part of the executive, we get the $100 honorarium. You can see that was just paid in June, so the next one will be in September. Savings transfers, this would be if I actually transferred any savings to my checking account from my savings. You can see I did that in May, but I don't have any plan for this month. My total planned income is $9,757.15. And so we will go down here to the next category. These are my essential expenses. I do break down my expenses to between essential and non-essential. Rent, insurance, car, home insurance, my daughter's allowance, internet, cell phone, power bill. This is the costs. Additional for my daughter's medical. Now, out of this, some of that will be refunded here, so that's how they balance each other out. I have a storage container in BC, so this will be no longer be a cost as of the end of next summer of 2027. I have nothing planned for one-time expenses, miscellaneous. Gas, I've budgeted $200, and you can see I'm getting pretty close to that. I'm hoping that doesn't go over. I just have more driving this month than normal. Groceries, I recently bumped this up to 400. I did have it at 300, but I bumped it up to 400 because I was continually going over. And so I have decreased this for this month, and it's because we are going to this conference. My daughter's coming with me. And so we just won't be spending as much in groceries, but the extra $100 has gone to eating out, and I'll show you that in a minute. You can see my groceries so far are, I've only spent $18. It's currently July 11th. So I've been trying to be really intentional about using what's already in my house, my freezer, my fridge, my pantry, just to try and keep grocery costs down. Pets, this is actually half or 50% of kennel costs. For my dog needs to go to the kennel for a while we're away, and next week she needs a checkup and her kennel cough shot. So I've put down 300. It may be slightly more than that, but for now that's what I'm going to go with. There was some extra clothing costs this month. I had to buy a couple dresses for this conference because I had no dresses. Tara needed some new swim shorts and a hoodie and a t-shirt for camp. And so far to date, we're at 258. Normally, I don't really budget much at all for clothes because we have everything we need. But this actually may be, I'm going to change this to 400. And the reason for that is because my daughter needs new runners. For household and toiletries, I will put in $50 a month for these each, but we're good for both of those right now. We don't need to buy anything. Sports, this is for my daughter. So her biggest sports expenses are from August to April usually. There isn't anything budgeted for her sports for this month. RX and dentist, so this would obviously be for dentist costs. We go once every 9 months. This RX cost would be any prescriptions that I have to pay my 20% on. My daughter's prescriptions are covered 100% between her father and I, because we have separate healthcare plans. Halifax water, that's usually every couple months, so we just paid it in June. It's not due again until September. And car repairs and maintenance is also zero, thankfully, because last month ended up being $1,800 because I had to get brakes done, and that wasn't a planned expense. It's definitely maintenance, but I didn't realize that it would end up having to be last month. My subtotal for essential expenses for the month is $5,114.71. So now we go to non-essentials. So the majority of these non-essential are things that I don't require to keep a roof over my head. I'm also I, I don't believe in depriving myself or my daughter totally while I'm working at paying off this debt. I don't want to incur more debt, but I also don't want to have a really limited life, I guess, is a way to explain it. There's definitely things that we don't spend money on. We're not high maintenance in terms of hair and nails and clothing. I don't smoke, I don't drink. That's just my personal choice. No judgment against people that do, but I don't want to spend my money on that. Some of these expenses, like instant ink, the Claude subscription, Descript, those are technically business expenses. So currently, I'm not breaking out any of my business expenses, although at some point I will be doing that on a separate spreadsheet, but for now it's included in here. Google, YouTube Music, Stack TV, Netflix, Canva Pro is also a business expense. I have things in here like current subscriptions, which I don't have any. My MasterCard annual fee, which is usually in January, so once a year. Entertainment, I do usually put in $50 a month. Business expenses would be things that aren't classified elsewhere. It could be for templates that I buy or maybe courses or that type of thing. 400 for eating out. Normally I don't usually have a lot allocated in here. It's usually like around $50, but I have bumped it up to 400 because we will be out of town for that conference. We'll be going to Montreal. And so I have allowed extra for eating out because it is for me, my daughter, and her boyfriend for the week. So hopefully it doesn't go too much over. Holly is my astrologer, and I see her 6 to 8 times a year. This is my Costco membership that's coming due at the end of this month. I do have a $73 rebate because I have an executive membership, so that will be applied against this. We had hair appointments last month, so there's nothing for this month. Google storage is usually in March once a year, so nothing now. Miscellaneous unplanned. I don't usually plan for this at all because I like to have all my expenses detailed, but once in a while things come up. This actually was for the conference coming up. Grocery baking supplies. I'm a big baker and I do keep my baking supplies separate from my regular groceries. And I didn't have any allocated this month, but I did end up spending some today for that because I have a friend of mine that is going through breast cancer and I wanted to bake some cookies for her family. You can see my non-essential expenses. The planned for July is $942.97. Now we go on to debt payments, but before we go into debt payments, just to show you how all of these numbers are generated in terms of my actual, I track everything here for my day-to-day. Now, I do this daily, and I mean, it doesn't have to be done daily. It can be done weekly or even monthly. I'm just not that organized, and I would forget something and then I would just mess everything up. And it's also a way to keep track of where I am on my actual versus planned. You can see here where I've gone over already. The Descript is kind of an odd one because I pay the monthly subscription in US dollars and then it converts to Canadian. So there's always a conversion cost. Sometimes I'm under this, sometimes I'm over. You can see that. You can see my unplanned and my baking supplies are obviously in the negative because I didn't plan for those. And I can see too how much money I have left in my categories here. So when I go down to debt payments, this is my minimum payments. So car loan is tied to my biweekly paycheck. So because I have 3 paychecks this month, I have 3 car loan payments. EF educational tours, this is my monthly payment that's at 0%. for my daughter's 2027 school trip to Italy. This one ends in, I think February is the last payment I need to make. My BMO MasterCard, which I put my day-to-day expenses on there. Capital One, PC, Mastercards, I'm trying to pay these off first before my BMO one, and then my BMO line of credit. So these are the minimum payments. So I do try to pay more than the minimum because I am trying to really pay off this debt. But sometimes, as you can see, I don't have enough paycheck for the end of the month. So I'll show you. So my minimum total this month will be $2,371.08, which is higher than normal only because of that extra car loan payment. These are my cash savings. Emergency fund and vacation are tied to my pay also. These get automatically transferred out on each pay to designated accounts. So $100 each pay for emergency fund and $50 each pay for vacation fund. Now this vacation fund I actually set that up a couple years ago with a girlfriend of mine because we were talking about going on a vacation together. My portion of that account is about $3,100, I think. It won't be used for vacation. It will be used for some legal bills I have coming up to do with my daughter's father. US dollar account, I do try to transfer a little bit of Canadian dollars every month to my US dollar account. So this $30 is Canadian, and then it gets converted before it goes into the US dollar account. My cash savings planned is 480, and my goal is to never touch these, but it's hard these days and I'm struggling with that, and I'm sure I will talk about that in another video. My investment savings, currently I don't put anything into a retirement plan or non-registered investments, but I do have a registered disability savings plan that I put $50 a paycheck into, and this is my daughter's. You can see that leaves me with $698 for the end of July, which, would be great, except I need to have $2,500 at the beginning of each month in order to pay my rent and insurance and the costs that come up at the beginning of each month. So obviously I'm short. I may need to take money out of my retirement account, which I hope I don't have to. I could end up having some money paid that's owed to me for my daughter's expenses. It's been outstanding for a long time though, so I'm not sure if I will actually get that this month. That may be something to be dealt with in court. But if I get that money, then I'll be fine for the month, but I'll be revisiting that the last week of July or so to see where I am. So those are my planned July expenses. I'm bringing everyone along on this debt repayment journey. And you know what? You can see I make decent money, and I've just gotten myself into a financial mess and I'm cleaning it up. And this is, I guess, the messy middle that I'm in. It's not always a great number. Now, my goal eventually is to make, sooner than like sometime this year, I'm hoping by September, that I can start making income from my online business, and I'll be talking about that further in another video. You can see this is not pretty, this is factual, and it's definitely not where I want to be each month, and honestly it's a little bit stressful, but I'm determined to get this debt paid off by September of 2029. So I will continue plowing through and doing what has to be done so that I can get it paid off. Remember, if you owe somebody money, they control you until it's paid off. And I am tired of somebody else controlling me due to money. So that is my July numbers. Now, at the beginning of August, I will do another video to show how my July closed out and what actually happened there. I would love for you to subscribe and be with me as I work on this financial rebuilding journey. I would love to have your support, and I'd love to be able to support anyone that's on this journey with me. So please hit subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.